Today, I will be talking about the 5 roller coasters that Cedar Point should add to their lineup. Cedar Point has one of the best lineups of coasters in the world, but just because it's good doesn't mean it's perfect. There are still many coaster additions that would fit perfectly here, and I'm here to discuss what coasters would be the best fit. At number 5 is a mock water coaster. I think this wasn't really on the table, but after Snake River Falls closure, I think that it is a good possibility now. Snake River Falls was a normal boat ride, and after its removal, a water coaster sounds a lot better of an idea for a new ride in this plot of land. Not only will it pay homage to Snake River Falls, but it allows Cedar Point to add a new and improved water ride to the park. And obviously, coasters are the main addition to Cedar Point, and they could make it a record-breaking water coaster. Plus, a water coaster would be very unique since there are no water coasters near Cedar Point and almost no mock water coasters in the entirety of the United States. Also, if they could theme it and add nice landscaping, it would be a very solid replacement for Snake River Falls and a great new coaster addition for Cedar Point. Next up is a B&M Flying Coaster. This is one coaster on the list that is probably 100% unrealistic, but I think it would be very cool here. Imagine a Manta from SeaWorld Orlando type of flyer at Cedar Point. Flying over the pathways would be amazing for guests on and off ride, and imagine being able to look down and seeing all the guests on the pathways. And there are absolutely no flyers close by, and a flyer is one of the only models that Cedar Point does not already have in their lineup. And a hyper flyer that they could market as all the records that Cedar Point likes to do with their rides, like fastest and tallest, and they could throw in even 6 inversions and have the flyer inversion record. I think the Vekoma flyer is more of a possibility here, but the B&M flyer I think would be a great coaster to add to the greatest amusement park on Earth. Third place is a B&M Hyper. This one also might not be very realistic since Cedar Fair hasn't bought a B&M Hyper in almost 15 years, and Cedar Point doesn't really have a lot of land for a sprawling layout, but this would be amazing here. Cedar Point doesn't really have a floater airtime machine. They have rides like Steel Vengeance and Magnum that are ejector machines, but they don't really have a lot of floater airtime at this park. I think that Millennium Force was supposed to be that, but the airtime on Millie is almost non-existent, and they need a little bit more help on the floater side of airtime. Having a 250-foot new and modern floater machine while having the OG Hyper with ejector airtime would be a perfect contrast, and it would be great for this park. A GCI Woody would be great here. One of the only weaknesses in Cedar Point's lineup is that they only have one wooden coaster, and it's pretty realistic since Cedar Fair works with GCI. And about that one Woody, it's Blue Streak, and it's from the 70s, which is over 50 years ago, and the last Woody that they opened was almost 30 years ago, and it's not even at the park anymore. This park would benefit so much from a modern GCI with great airtime and low-to-the-ground elements. Also, if Cedar Fair wanted to, they could add an inversion to this coaster, saying that it's the only inverting wooden coaster on the East Coast, or something along the lines of that. But Gemini would probably have to be sacrificed to add this coaster, and getting rid of Gemini and adding a GCI would make this lineup so much better. And if they wanted to make it a dueling coaster to honor Gemini, it would make this ride much more interesting and allow the park to keep their dueling coaster in their lineup. The number 1 spot is the Mach Extreme Spinner. This is also the number 1 spot on the Kings Island list, but I just think that this type of ride model would be amazing and complete any type of lineup. Cedar Point already has a spinning coaster in Wild Mouse, but it's a kid's coaster. Also, there are really no other spinning thrill coasters nearby, and the closest Mach Extreme Spinner is in Missouri, which is a very far distance away. And the Mach Extreme Spinner, they could create the tallest, fastest, and longest spinning coaster with the most inversions or something to get the records that Cedar Point always likes. And obviously, the spinner would be a world-class ride and maybe give Steel Vengeance a run for its money for being the best coaster in the park and maybe the world. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it, but subscribe, comment down any other additions that you think would fit perfectly into Cedar Point's lineup, but other than that, have a great day.